Hi SLP, it's Alexandra. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Joey and I cannot believe that we are already in week 5 of SLP. We have had so much fun getting to know you all, see you all on Zoom, meet with our guests over Zoom, and make these amazing videos for you all. It means so much to us that you decided to spend your summer with us virtually. I cannot wait for you all to learn what Stacy is going to share with you today, so please listen closely and enjoy her presentation. Let's all welcome Stacy.
Hi SLP, it's Alexandra.
Joey.
And here we have our special guest, Stacy. Hi, Stacy.
Hi everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're really happy to have you. And some of you might actually recognize Stacy because you've done SLP with us before.
I have. I think from the beginning, I've come every summer, so.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It is.
To have you in this new format. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Do you want to introduce yourself, Stacy, and tell us a little bit about you and what you're going to talk to the kiddos about today?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Stacy. I work for Healthy Communities Partnership, and I do a lot of different things. During the school year, I spend all my time mostly in elementary schools talking with students about making healthy choices and the things that we do that impact our lives. And today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about one of those things. So I think that's kind of what we're going to get into.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. Well, Joey and I will be here. We'll be listening and making some notes and thinking of some questions to ask you, and we'll rejoin you at the end of your presentation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
In the book Wonder, Augie is a pretty special kid. His family sees and loves him for who he is, and they encourage all of his amazing talents and abilities. Life isn't always easy, but Augie works hard to make good choices along the way. And like Augie, every day we face a lot of different choices. Today, I told you I wanted to talk about something that is a choice that you have to make. And believe it or not, you make this choice every day. And it's about the pressure to use tobacco. The really crazy part about that is that years ago, the choice was just about whether to smoke or not smoke or use chewing tobacco. And now we have all this added thing called electronic cigarettes or electronic nicotine delivery systems, which is a really fancy way of saying e-cigarettes or vaping or JUULing. They're all really the same thing. So you may think, I'm just a kid and I'm a smart kid and I know way too much. I'm way smarter than that. I know I shouldn't be doing this stuff. But the reality is often kids as young as 10 are pressured to try things like this, the electronic products or regular cigarettes. And it's never too early to work on ways to say no to peer pressure and how to make those healthy choices. But I want to make sure that you know some of those facts, because when we're talking about the choices that we make and ways to say no, having facts to back us up are really important. So here's what we know. Often we hear that electronic cigarettes aren't a big deal. But less harm does not mean harm less. Cigarettes and other tobacco products, like the nicotine delivery systems or vaping, contain nicotine. And nicotine is really bad for our bodies. Electronic cigarettes just haven't been around long enough for us to know all their long-term effects. We do know that traditional tobacco products cause cancer and heart disease and lung problems. And we're finding that electronic products share some of those same effects. So you may have heard, seen, or thought lots of different things about electronic cigarettes. I want you to take a second, and I know you don't have an index card to record this on, but think about some of those things. What are things that people have said to you? Maybe you've heard, they don't contain nicotine, so they're really not all that bad. Or it's just water vapor, no big deal. Maybe you've heard, they're harmless, they can't hurt you. Or people use them to help them quit other tobacco products. So they're useful to help quit smoking. We're going to talk about some of those things today and why maybe those things aren't as true as people sometimes tell us. So I'm hoping, let's see. So electronic cigarettes are dangerous, and they contain lots of toxins and metals that are harmful to our lungs. There are lots of problems that can arise, and this video, I'm hoping we'll be able to hear, will give us some of that information. It's just a little over a minute long, so let's see what we can learn.
Are e-cigarettes less harmful? Well, let's talk about some facts. Do you think your brain cares where nicotine comes from? Do you think your brain knows if you used a cigarette, cigar, spit tobacco, or electronic cigarette? All your brain knows is nicotine is a drug, and it doesn't care where it comes from. And e-cigarettes deliver nicotine to your brain. Equally important is e-cigarettes have chemicals. Some of those chemicals we get from tobacco don't come from burning tobacco. They come from heating up nicotine. And what an e-cigarette does is it heats up nicotine. So it produces the same type of cancer-producing agents that you get from a tobacco product. Are they safer? Maybe. It's safer to jump off a 100-story building than a 300-story building. That's a true statement. It's safer. The result is about the same. So is it safer? You could probably say maybe. All your brain knows is that nicotine is an addictive drug, and I must begin to change. So electronic cigarettes will affect the same change in your brain that any other tobacco product does.
So I know that wasn't very long, but I think it's really important for us to remember that safer doesn't mean harmless. Just like he said, you could jump off. It's safer to jump off of a 30-story building than a 300-story building. It doesn't mean it's safe. So, is it just plain water vapor? Well, here's the thing. It's not. It's an aerosol. The vapor or the aerosol that comes from electronic tobacco products or electronic cigarettes contains all kinds of particles and droplets and chemicals that are inhaled and exhaled by that user. So, we're breathing in and exhaling things that shouldn't be in our lungs. Water vapor is just water vapor. This is not because it has all those other chemicals in it. Nicotine is harmful. It hurts our brain. It can cause lifelong changes to the way our brain processes things. Believe it or not, your brain continues to grow and develop until you're like 25 years old. So the sooner you put things like nicotine or other drugs into your system, it impacts the way your brain grows and develops, and it makes changes. And nicotine, because it's so addictive, makes that change and makes your brain more likely to crave that as you get older and as you grow in the future. The sooner that you start using a product like nicotine, the harder it is to let go of in the future. So one of the things I often hear is that JUUL, not really a big deal. It's its own thing. It comes with its own terms like juuling. But JUUL is an electronic cigarette. It's an electronic product, just like all those other products. It contains all kinds of dangerous chemicals, and JUUL pods contain really high amounts of nicotine. One pod actually contains as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes. So that's a lot. There's a lot of nicotine and a lot of addiction in there. And JUUL's always been pretty honest about that they have nicotine in their products. But I've talked to a lot of kids who didn't understand that JUUL was just like all those other electronic products. So one of the things that I think makes the big difference with these electronic products for a lot of kids, a lot of students, is that they taste good. They're sweet, the candy flavors, the fruit flavors. It's really attractive, especially to young people, which is why we have to talk about it. The sweet flavors appeal to you, to youth, to kids, to teens, but it's still dangerous. Almost all of those products contain nicotine, can be harmful. Nicotine itself is deadly. If you accidentally swallow nicotine, it can be deadly. It can be fatal. So you can see in this last bullet point that as of December 31st, 2019, Poison Control Centers had managed 5,182 exposures related to e-cigarettes and e-liquid. That's a lot of people being overdosing from nicotine and a lot of danger. prior to the introduction of electronic cigarettes on the market, there were almost no nicotine-related exposures ever called into poison control centers. It's amazing how many calls have come in since the start of these products became popular. So are there negative consequences? You know, there's a lot going on with these products, but here's a list of some of those potential consequences of using electronic cigarettes. It's expensive, at least to get started. It can be very expensive. There's long-term addiction, the chemicals in the aerosol. It's being a bad influence on younger siblings and on friends, getting in trouble at home and school, harming your body. Ingesting the liquid is fatal. We just talked about that. Nausea, dry mouth, dizziness, coughing, wheezing can make asthma worse. I've talked to a number of students who've told me I would never smoke regular cigarettes because I have asthma. They're really bad for me. But the truth is, electronic products can also harm your lungs and can also make asthma worse. So, just to kind of cover this really quickly, almost all electronic cigarettes contain nicotine, which is addictive and harmful to your growing brain. And just so you know, it's illegal for kids your age to buy, sell, or use these products. And actually, anyone under the age of 21, it's illegal for them to have these products. So, if we know that it's bad for us and we know that it's not legal, why? Why try it? There are a lot of reasons that people might consider trying electronic products. So I have a couple that are going to pop up. I want you to think about what your reasons, why you've heard people might be trying these products. What could their reason be? And then we're going to talk about some possible alternatives, things that you can do instead. So it's cool. I hear that a lot. It makes me look cool. That's advertising, by the way. Advertisers try to tell us that the products will make us cool, they'll make us feel better, they'll make us popular, they'll make people like us. And, well, is that the best reason? Because I think you can be pretty cool without these products. It tastes good. We talked about all those flavors and the way they taste, and that they do taste good, but that doesn't mean they're good for us. And to relax. A lot of times people feel like using cigarettes, regular traditional cigarettes or electronic products, can help them relax. And that's nicotine tricking our brain, making us think that we feel better, that things are going to be better for us. It helps to calm us down. It's a trick in our brain, and it doesn't really last, because once the nicotine wears off, our brain goes right back to that unrelaxed state that it was in. And the crazy part is, because nicotine is so addictive, it's harder for us to get to a natural relaxed state. So we have to come up with some positive alternatives. So what can we do instead? So how about water skiing? Especially in the summer, the water, it'll be cool. It'll feel good. If you can't water ski, swim, play basketball, play in a sprinkler. Do something fun outside that you enjoy. You can be cool in a lot of different ways. Want to do something, try something that tastes good? Eat fruit or another healthy snack. Way better for you than these these products and the nicotine that they contain. And how do we relax? You know, doing anything that you love can be helpful to make you feel relaxed, but try deep breathing. It's my favorite way when you're feeling relaxed, when you feel the need to relax, when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, take a deep breath and let it out. It's a great way to get your body to calm down, to feel a little bit better, to refocus, and it's a healthy way. And that's what's really important. So when we're faced with reasons to try electronic products or cigarettes, what can we do instead? What's a healthier solution to that problem? So, all of that said, saying no, right? Having our alternatives, telling somebody that we're not going to use those products is one of the best things that we can do. We have knowledge, we have ways that we're going to say no. What can you say with a friend or family member? At some point, I want you to practice explaining why you don't want to use nicotine products like JUUL or other cigarettes. What are you going to say? Saying no, it's important to say it in a strong way and using an assertive voice. You don't have to yell, but I do have to sound like I mean it. So I want you to hear the difference. If I say, no, I don't think I want to try that. I don't sound very convincing, do I? I kind of sound like I'm uncomfortable or unsure with what I'm saying. Now, I don't have to yell, remember, but I do have to be assertive. So if I say, no, I don't want to, do I sound more convincing? I hope so, because I feel more convincing. I feel better. I feel like I'm sitting up straight, like I'm taking a deep breath. I'm being strong with my words, and I'm saying it like I mean it. So I want you to practice that with a family member or friend. Again, tell them why. Why don't you want to do it? What is it about the product that makes you say, this is not for me? Some ways that you can do that, you can simply say, no thanks, I'm good, don't want it. You can hang out with friends who don't vape or who won't pressure you to vape. You can suggest something else to do, like, how about we go water skiing or play basketball instead? Give them your reason. Remember, you're going to practice that. And it's always good to use a little bit of humor. So, knowledge is power. Remind people that we're prepared to make healthy choices, and we want to be able to do that. So, doing that, one of the things that we can do to prepare ourselves is to take action. To take action and make our voices heard. So, I want you to take some time today. I'm going to ask you to do that. Take some time today or this afternoon or tomorrow even, and create your own statement, making the choice to stay away from those electronic nicotine delivery systems or any other tobacco product. A regular nicotine delivery system like cigarettes or chewing tobacco. Make a poster, a video, or something else you choose that tells everybody that you're making the choice to be healthy and you're going to stay away from those products. I want to share one with you that was done by some friends of mine a while back. And this was a challenge. They were challenged to make a t-shirt design that shared a message about the truth behind tobacco. And it says, smiles mean everything. What does this say? And they told me that it was important to them that they have a healthy smile. So they wanted to share with people that tobacco can ruin your smile. So smiles mean everything. So smile, make healthy choices, and make good decisions. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. I always love your presentations, and so thank you. I remember last summer, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of your presentations, I think you actually brought like a lung, so a healthy lung versus what a smoker's lung looks like.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, like, I know it's hard because that was like a visual thing, but could you talk to us about like the differences, like just what a healthy lung is like versus like what a smoker's lung is like, and how that has changed since like traditional like smoking a cigarette versus like the e-cig?
Sure. So our lungs, they fill our whole chest cavity, and they kind of sit under our rib cage, and our stomach and our organs are up in there. But when they expand, they fill everything up. So when we take a deep breath in, everything expands. And our healthy lungs help us by doing that. They help us to filter all the air that we breathe to make sure that we're getting lots of oxygen and getting oxygen to our bodies. And because they can expand so fully, we can get a nice deep breath that can really keep us moving and active. When somebody is smoking, and I'm sorry I don't have all of my stuff with me today. When somebody is smoking, the tar from the cigarettes can damage our lungs, and it actually turns the color of the lung. It changes it to a kind of a dark blackish gray sort of color, and our lungs don't expand as well. So we can't get as deep of a breath. And that's over a long time, that's the damage that traditional cigarettes cause. Electronic products have kind of a different kind of damage in our system because they don't have tar, which is why so often people think that they are so much less harmful. But those toxic chemicals that are in that aerosol that I talked about, those chemicals can damage our lungs. They can cause the air sacs, those little tiny air sacs in our lungs, to burst, and that damage is also irreversible. So that damage can cause long-term problems for people. Even the liquid in that vapor, in the aerosol, can get into our lungs and cause things like pneumonia and other breathing problems. So even though when electronic products first came out, people thought of them as being much less harmful. They're finding more and more issues are arising, and it's causing more and more lung damage. Just this past winter, there was a teen who had a double lung transplant because of the damage to his lungs. His lungs were so bad that he had to have new lungs. So he was fortunate that he was able to live through that, survive. But he was really unhealthy after just a couple years of vaping.
Yeah. Now, is it possible for lungs to recover, or if there's a better word to use, I know you said like with the e-cigarettes, it's different, like there is irreversible damage. What about with like traditional smoke, like smoking of a cigarette? Can your lungs come back from that? And what does the recovery from that look like if you do decide to stop smoking?
So whenever somebody stops smoking, they start to recover almost immediately. I mean, within 20 minutes, different things in our bodies start to happen, which is kind of cool. And some of the damage to the lungs is going to be permanent. But when I've talked to people who have quit smoking, because they start to kind of get rid of the buildup and some of the things that have happened to their lungs, they do feel better and they do breathe better. So they do recover to some extent. It's not all going to be reversed, which is why the best choice is to not start at all. But it's really important for people to think about or work on quitting so that they can recover some of that health.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I shared this with our campers last summer, and I'll share it again. I totally agree with what Stacy's teaching you all and sharing with you all. I used to be a smoker. I smoked cigarettes for 6 years, and I started really young. And it's true. Like if you don't start, you have a better chance of having a healthier body and a healthier mindset. But I also too am an example of, you can recover even if you do decide. And I shared with campers last summer, I don't know if some of you who remember the day that Stacy came, I just wish I would have said no, like watching your slide about like different ways to say no. It was, I took the like, oh, I don't know approach, and I wish I would have, had like opportunities like this to Zoom with you and talk to you and hear all this stuff, because knowledge really is power. But it is possible to quit too. And I'm 6 years smoke free. So that's pretty huge and that's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would imagine that it was really hard. It's a hard process to quit. But you feel so much better once it's been years and you've walked away from it. If you feel so much better. My aunt has been a lifelong smoker, and she quit several years ago because the doctors told her if she didn't, she would need to be on oxygen because her lungs were really bad. And it's been probably 8 or 10 years since she quit, and she still isn't on oxygen because she made the step to improve her health. She said someday she'll probably be there, but she definitely would have been there by now if she wouldn't have quit. So it makes a difference. So good for you.
Thank you. And good for her too. That's so exciting. There's a lot of, there are a lot of possibilities and that there is an opportunity to recover and make changes, health changes in your life. And
so I remember like growing up, they used to sell candy cigarettes, and we would always like pretend to smoke them like we were so cool. 15 years ago maybe. So I was just wondering, how do you think modern marketing for nicotine targets kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I remember the candy cigarettes too, by the way. They were around for a long time, and they were definitely a way to make kids feel like I can be cool, and leads to that idea of feeling cool with using candy cigarettes. There are a lot of different ways now. Now my son is older. He just graduated from high school, but I know they sell like shredded beef jerky that looks a lot and has the mouth feel sort of chewing tobacco. So that's one way that I see a product that appeals to kids. With electronic products, though, it's really all about those flavors. Gummy bears and unicorn barf. I mean, like there's all these crazy flavors. I don't know many 40-year-olds that would be like, oh, I think I want to try unicorn barf. But I do know several 14 and 15-year-olds that were like, hey, this sounds cool. So it's about, with electronic products, it's the image, something that you can kind of, it looks slick and sleek and disguisable as something else. And then those flavors are huge. But interestingly, they're using the same marketing tactics with the electronic products that they used to hook people in the 40s and 50s. So it's really an interesting process when you start to compare advertising.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of those disposable pens now. They come in like all these bright colors, and they come like bright boxes with like fruit and candy on the front of them.
Yep.
So obviously targeted for underage kids.
Yes, it is. And the companies have gotten into a lot of trouble over it, but just keep saying, no, that's not what we're doing at all. But, that's those flavors and the imagery definitely appeal to a younger audience than they claim to be targeting.
Yeah. And like you said, knowledge is power, though. So now that we know that, that like as younger folks, like, for those of you listening, you can hopefully have these conversations with an adult that, somebody at home or somebody in your community or at school that you trust, about the things that are pulling you in, that are of interest. Because even though it, like you said, it looks sleek and it looks cool, there actually is there's an ulterior motive behind that marketing.
Absolutely.
I think just speaking up and saying, hey, like I saw this thing and it looked cool, is this a good idea? Just talking to people can really change a lot of the decisions you make. So that was a great question, Joey.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for answering it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was a great response too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Stacy, for everything.
Yeah. Super
informative. I always learn more and more. And even as somebody who quit smoking a long time ago, there's always something new to learn. So thank you so much for something and our participants. It means a lot.
If I could very quickly make kind of a shameless plug, one of the things that Healthy Communities Partnership does is offer cessation classes for people who want to quit smoking. So we do have a class that will be starting virtually and in person, hopefully, in the beginning of August. So if anybody knows someone that would be interested in quitting traditional tobacco products or electronic products, we're here to help. And they can visit our website. It's hcpfranklinpa.org. and get more information about the classes, or call our office and I'll let you just post that information if you don't mind. But we're absolutely here to help in any way. If parents have questions about electronic products, we can try that too. I have lots of great information that I can share with families about how to talk to their kids or just to become more knowledgeable. So
that would be so awesome. And we would love to share with everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacy. We truly enjoyed having you be a guest with us today. And once again, thank you to all of our guests that have joined. We truly could not do this without all of you. All right, SLP, Joey and I will see you later this week when we go chalking. So stay tuned. Peace.